Hit that subscribe button if you believe in the power of kindness, and let's dive into this incredible true story that will restore your faith in humanity. 17-year-old Marcus Thompson pressed his back against the cold brick wall of the abandoned warehouse, pulling his thin jacket tighter around his shoulders. The November wind cut through the fabric like ice, but he'd learned to endure worse. 3 months ago, the foster system had failed him for the last time, and Marcus had chosen the uncertainty of the streets over another abusive home. His stomach growled, a constant companion these days. The last meal he'd had was yesterday morning, stale bread from behind the bakery on 5th Street. But Marcus had learned something important during his time on the streets. There was always someone worse off than you. He thought about Mrs. Chun, the elderly woman who lived in the cardboard shelter 2 blocks over. She'd been coughing for weeks now, a deep, rattling sound that worried Marcus. Tomorrow, he decided, he'd give her the blanket he'd found last week. She needed it more than he did. If this story is already giving you chills, wait until you hear what happens next. Make sure to like this video to support more inspiring content like this. It was past midnight when Marcus heard the screams. He'd been trying to sleep in the doorway of a closed electronics store when the sound pierced the night air. Most people would have ignored it. In this part of the city, you learn to mind your own business. But Marcus wasn't most people. Following the sound, he crept through the shadows until he reached the mouth of a narrow alley. What he saw made his blood run cold. A woman in her 30s, dressed in scrubs, clearly a nurse heading home from a late shift, was cornered by 3 men. One held a knife, while the others blocked her escape routes. "Please," the woman whispered, her voice shaking. "I already gave you my purse. I have a daughter at home. Please just let me go." "The purse ain't enough, lady," the man with the knife sneered. "We know you medical types got more than pocket change." Marcus felt his heart hammering against his ribs. He was just one skinny kid against 3 grown men. He had no phone to call for help, no weapon, nothing but the clothes on his back. Every rational thought told him to walk away, to survive another day. But then he looked at the woman's face, illuminated by the distant streetlight, and saw the same terror he'd felt countless times in foster homes when there was no one to help him. Are you on the edge of your seat? Comment below what you think Marcus should do in this impossible situation. Marcus didn't think. He just acted. "HEY," he shouted, stepping into the alley. "Police are coming." I called 911. It was a lie, but a convincing one. The 3 men spun around, startled. "Kid, get out of here before you get hurt." The leader growled, but Marcus could see uncertainty in his eyes. "Fire department's coming too," Marcus continued, his voice stronger now. "And I got it all on video." He held up an old, broken phone he'd found weeks ago, praying they couldn't see it wasn't working in the dim light. The woman, Sarah Martinez, caught on immediately. "Thank God you called them," she exclaimed, playing along. "They said they'd be here any minute." The sound of a distant siren, probably unrelated, made the decision for the attackers. They exchanged glances and bolted, disappearing into the maze of back streets. For a moment, Marcus and Sarah stood in the alley, both breathing heavily. "Are you hurt?" Marcus asked, rushing to her side. Sarah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You saved my life. But you're just a..." She paused, really looking at him for the first time, taking in his thin frame, his worn clothes, the way he shivered in the cold. "Just a kid," Marcus finished quietly. "Yeah, I know. Drop a heart emoji in the comments if you think Marcus is a real hero, regardless of his age." "What's your name?" Sarah asked softly. "Marcus." "Well, Marcus, I'm Sarah, and I owe you everything." She noticed how he kept glancing around nervously. Do you have somewhere to go? Someone to call?" Marcus almost lied. Almost said yes, he was fine, he was just heading home. But something in Sarah's eyes, the same kindness he'd seen in his first foster mother, before everything went wrong, made him tell the truth. "No, ma'am. It's just me." Sarah felt her heart break. Her daughter Emma was only 12, not much younger than this brave boy who had risked everything to save a stranger. "Listen," she said carefully, not wanting to frighten him. "I know you don't know me, but when's the last time you had a real meal?" Marcus's stomach chose that moment to growl audibly, and he felt his cheeks burn with embarrassment. "There's a 24-hour diner 2 blocks from here," Sarah continued. Would you let me buy you dinner? It's the least I can do. Every instinct told Marcus to refuse. He'd learned not to trust adults, not to depend on anyone. But he was so hungry, so tired, and Sarah's offer felt genuine in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Okay, he whispered. If you're wondering where this story is going, trust me, you're not prepared for what happens next. Keep watching and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the ending. At Mel's All-Night Diner, Sarah watched in amazement as Marcus devoured 2 burgers, fries, and 3 glasses of milk. But what struck her most wasn't his hunger, it was his manners. "Thank you, ma'am," he said after every bite. When the waitress refilled his water, he thanked her too. When he noticed Sarah's coffee cup was empty, he politely asked the waitress to bring more. "You have beautiful manners," Sarah observed. Marcus shrugged. "My mom taught me. Before she..." He trailed off. "Before she what?" "Before she died when I was 8. Car accident." Marcus stared at his plate. "That's when I went into the system." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "How long have you been on the streets?" 3 months. Last foster dad." Marcus shuddered. "Let's just say the streets are safer." As they talked, Sarah learned that Marcus had been an honor student before everything fell apart. He loved to read, wanted to be a doctor someday, and had been teaching himself first aid from library books. "A doctor?" Sarah smiled. "I'm a nurse at Children's Hospital. I work with doctors every day." Marcus's eyes lit up for the first time since she'd met him. "Really? What's it like?" For the next hour, Sarah told him about her work, about the kids she helped, about the doctors who saved lives every day. She watched this homeless teenager's face transform as he asked intelligent questions about medical procedures, about anatomy, about what it took to get into medical school. Comment below if you think Sarah is starting to see something special in Marcus. And hit that notification bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. When they finally left the diner, Sarah faced a decision that would change both their lives forever. She thought about her daughter Emma, asleep at home with her mother babysitting. Emma, who had been asking for a big brother for years. Emma, who would love this brave, kind boy who had saved her mother's life. She thought about the spare room in their house, the one that had been empty since her divorce 2 years ago. She thought about Marcus's dreams of becoming a doctor, and how those dreams would die on the streets. "Marcus," she said as they stood outside the diner, "I want to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer." Marcus nodded, suddenly nervous. "I have a 12-year-old daughter named Emma. We live in a house about 15 minutes from here. There's a spare room that's been empty for too long." Sarah took a deep breath. Would you consider coming home with us? Not just for tonight, for as long as you need." Marcus stared at her in shock. You want me to live with you? But you don't even know me." "I know enough," Sarah said firmly. "I know you risked your life to save a stranger. I know you have dreams and manners and a good heart. I know you deserve a chance." Marcus felt tears he'd been holding back for months finally spill over. "But what if it doesn't work out? What if I mess up? Then we'll figure it out together," Sarah said simply. "That's what families do. Are you crying yet? Because this story is about to get even more incredible. Keep watching to see what Marcus decides. The new beginning. The next morning, Emma Martinez woke up to find her mother making pancakes for 3 people instead of 2. "Mom," she called, padding into the kitchen in her pajamas. "Why are you making so much?" She stopped short when she saw Marcus sitting at their kitchen table, looking just as bewildered as she felt. "Emma, sweetheart," Sarah said gently, "this is Marcus. He's going to be staying with us for a while." Emma looked between her mother and this stranger in their kitchen. "Is he in trouble?" "No, baby. Actually, he's a hero. He saved Mommy's life last night." Emma's eyes widened. "Really?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. I couldn't let anyone hurt your mom." For a moment, Emma studied him with the frank curiosity of a 12-year-old. Then she smiled, a smile exactly like her mother's. "Cool. I always wanted a big brother. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This family's journey is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what happens next." The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. Marcus had not only caught up with his senior year of high school but was excelling. His grades were so impressive that Mrs. Rodriguez, his guidance counselor, was already talking about college scholarships. "I still can't believe it," she told Sarah during a parent-teacher conference. "In 6 months, Marcus has gone from being a dropout to being one of our top students. Whatever you're doing at home, keep doing it." But the changes weren't just academic. Marcus had put on healthy weight, his smile came easily now, and he developed an incredible bond with Emma. He helped her with homework, taught her basketball in the backyard, and listened to her preteen dramas with the patience of a born big brother. "Marcus," Sarah said one evening as they cleaned up after dinner, "I got a call from Dr. Peterson at the hospital today." Marcus looked up from loading the dishwasher. Over the months, he'd started volunteering at Children's Hospital, and Dr. Peterson was the head of pediatrics. "He wants to offer you a summer internship," Sarah continued, barely able to contain her excitement. "Paid, working directly with the medical team." Marcus dropped the plate he was holding. Fortunately, it was plastic. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." "And Marcus?" Sarah put her hand on his shoulder. "He also said that with your grades and volunteer work, he'd be happy to write recommendation letters for your medical school applications." Marcus sat down heavily in a kitchen chair, overwhelmed. "Medical school? I can't. I mean, how would I pay for?" "We'll figure it out," Sarah said, echoing the words she'd spoken that first night. Together. That's what families do. The comments are going crazy with love for this family. Drop a blue heart if you think Marcus deserves everything good that's happening to him. 1 year after that fateful night in the alley, Marcus stood in the same spot where he'd once called out to those attackers. But everything had changed. He was wearing his graduation cap and gown, having just been named valedictorian of his senior class. In his pocket was an acceptance letter to the State University's pre-med program, along with a full scholarship. Sarah and Emma stood beside him, beaming with pride. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said, looking down the alley. "A year ago, I thought I had nothing to lose. That's the only reason I was brave enough to help you." "And now?" Sarah asked. Marcus smiled, pulling both of them into a hug. "Now I have everything to lose. And somehow, that makes me want to be even braver." Emma grinned up at him. "Does this mean you're going to keep saving people?" "Every day," Marcus promised. "Starting with the patients I'll treat as a doctor. If this story doesn't prove that one act of kindness can change everything, I don't know what does." Smash that like button if you believe in the power of giving people a second chance. 5 years later, the ripple effect. Dr. Marcus Thompson, he'd legally taken Sarah's last name when she adopted him at 18, stood in the pediatric ward of Children's Hospital, the same hospital where his journey had truly began. He was in his final year of medical school, having graduated summa cum laude from university. But more importantly, he was about to graduate into a residency program at the very hospital where Sarah worked. "Dr. Thompson," a small voice called from behind him. He turned to see a young boy, maybe 8 years old, sitting in a wheelchair with a cast on his leg. "Yes. Are you really a doctor?" Marcus smiled, remembering asking Sarah similar questions in a diner years ago. "Almost. I'm still learning. What's your name?" "Tommy. I heard you used to live on the streets. Is that true?" Marcus knelt down to Tommy's eye level. "It is. Why do you ask?" Tommy looked down at his hands. "Because my mom says we might have to live in our car soon. She lost her job when I got hurt, and she's been spending all her time here with me." Marcus felt his heart clench with familiar pain and familiar determination. "Tommy, can I tell you something? Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things. I met my family on the worst night of my life." "Really? Really? And you know what? I bet your mom is going to meet some people who will help both of you. There are programs at this hospital, people who care. Would you like me to introduce you to someone who can help?" Tommy nodded eagerly. As Marcus wheeled Tommy down the hall to meet with social services, he passed Sarah, who was coming off her shift. "Another one?" she asked with a knowing smile. "Another one," Marcus confirmed. "There's always another one who needs help." Sarah watched her son, because that's what he was, in every way that mattered, and felt her heart swell with pride. The boy she'd met in an alley had grown into a man who would spend his life giving other people the same second chance she'd given him. This is what happens when we choose kindness over fear, when we see potential instead of problems. If this story inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. The message that started it all. That evening, as Marcus, Sarah, and Emma, now 17 and headed to college herself, sat around their dinner table, Sarah pulled out an envelope. "I have something for you," she told Marcus. "I've been saving it for the right moment." Marcus opened the envelope and found a letter written in Sarah's handwriting but dated 5 years ago. "Dear future Marcus, if you're reading this, it means I was right about you. I'm writing this letter on your second night with us, after watching you help Emma with her math homework, even though you were exhausted. I want you to know that from the moment you stepped into that alley to save me, I knew you were special. Not because you were brave, though you were. Not because you were kind, though you are. But because you chose to help someone when you had every reason to walk away. That choice changed both our lives forever. By the time you read this, I hope you'll have achieved your dreams. But more than that, I hope you'll remember that your greatest strength isn't your intelligence or your determination, it's your heart. Never stop helping people, Marcus. The world needs more people like you. With all my love, Sarah. P.S. Emma says she hopes you'll still help her with homework even when you're a famous doctor. I told her you would, because I know the kind of man you are." Marcus looked up with tears in his eyes to find his family watching him with identical expressions of love and pride. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." "Thank you," Sarah replied, "for showing us what real courage looks like. If you made it to the end of the story, you're part of something special. Like this video if you believe that everyone deserves a second chance, and subscribe for more stories that prove kindness can change the world." Epilogue 10 years later. Today, Dr. Marcus Thompson runs a free clinic for homeless youth in the same neighborhood where he once lived on the streets. The clinic is funded by the Thompson Family Foundation, which Sarah established using the inheritance she'd never expected to receive. Emma, now a social worker, works at the clinic part-time while pursuing her master's degree. She specializes in helping kids transition out of foster care, a passion inspired by her brother's story. On the wall of the clinic hangs a simple plaque. Everyone deserves a chance to be the hero of their own story. Marcus sees it every day as he treats patients, provides counseling, and connects young people with resources they need. And every day, he remembers that sometimes the person you save ends up saving you right back. What did you think of Marcus and Sarah's incredible journey? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more inspiring true stories that will restore your faith in humanity. Remember, one act of kindness can change everything. What act of kindness will you perform today? If this story moved you, please share it with 5 people who need to hear it. And if you know someone who could use a second chance, be their Sarah. You never know, you might just change their life forever. Subscribe now for more stories that prove love always wins.